It's a really interesting model. My perspective on it and why I think it works really well. You're able to offer more of a full digital marketing agency approach with billboards as well, in indoor billboards and that network that's built out there, while still maintaining the relationship that clients get with being a smaller localized agency.
Yeah.
And that is rare. It seems almost impossible outside of this type of model. Because usually we see there'll be a small team of under 10 people that is a full service digital marketing agency. And that specialization in all of the areas that you listed becomes impossible.
Hi, everyone. This is Joshua Hoffman and Alex Gerashenko, and welcome to another episode of the Masters in Marketing Agency podcast, where we deconstruct the why and how agency owners found their success and learn a little bit more about how they can help their clients. Today, I have Jim Stewart, the owner of Your Local Network, a marketing agency that helps businesses grow their brand and stay top of mind through multi-channel advertising opportunities like indoor digital billboards. Welcome, Jim.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining us.
And I always start with something that's usually not totally business related and usually on the hobby side. So I'm not going to lie, on the discovery call, you mentioned fishing, and I just want to open it up with, why do you love fishing so much?
I think it's just I can zone out, just put myself in a completely different place than, where my day-to-day typically is. And I could just sit on the beach at night, cast the line out, and just watch the waves. And you catch a fish, great. If you don't, you know what? I'm still just sitting in a great place and just enjoying the moment. I think, like, I'm heading to the shore this weekend, and I plan on fishing multiple times, and I'm looking forward to it.
Is there a favorite place that you've gone fishing?
I love fishing off the beach, but I also, on the East Coast here in Jersey Shore, the back bays, I'll sit in the reeds and just cast into, into the intercoastal. I like crabbing too. So, I got a few crabbing spots I go to where, I know I can pull up a dozen crabs and I know what I'm having for dinner then. So it's.
I was, as a kid, I had too much ADHD to sit and fish. So I always said that I liked every outdoor thing except for fishing. And I feel like the older I get, the more I'm like, no, I understand this now. This is the.
And I was the same way. Like I couldn't sit still and fish for like more than an hour when I was younger. But then it's like, you hit a certain point and you're like, yeah, no, I could just sit here all day. And, once you hit that point, and then you really start to enjoy it, because otherwise, when after an hour you're getting edgy and just fidgety, it's like you're not enjoying the moment.
Yeah, exactly.
So once you understand what it is and what it does for you, then it's like you sit in the moment, you enjoy the moment, and that's when the passion comes out, I think.
Yeah, and I guess, I don't know if I'll call something in there personal philosophy, but the last time that we talked, I asked you a question. I was, do you have any kind of personal philosophies? And I don't know if you remember what you mentioned, but you said that if you put good out there, then it'll come back around. And again, before we get into kind of the business stuff, I love that you talked about that topic. So can you explain a little bit more, what you mean by that, and if you have any examples?
Honestly, I'm trying to help whoever I can. Probably of all the ones I have, all the conversations I have, I'd probably say 80% of them is me just helping someone out. And, it goes from an exploratory conversation to, all right, is this someone that's going to make a good prospect, or is this someone, how can I help this person? And a lot of times it's just, okay, they're not in the place in the realm where, me talking about my services is the right thing for them. It's all right, let's find out where their business is at. Where can I direct them? What can I offer them as advice to get to that level where it makes sense to hire a marketing agency, where it makes sense to, hire a bookkeeper, where it makes sense. So it's, I just love having those conversations with people. Like, one of my favorite things in the world is, let's say I got a guy. I love telling people I got a guy to help them out. No matter what it is, it's, I can walk away from a conversation knowing that I did something that's going to make their life easier, make their life better, or get them in the right direction, the right state of mind to help them out. And when I do that, I got a smile on my face at the end of the day, and I can sleep at night. You talk to some people and they're like, especially salespeople, it's when they start questioning their sales tactics and, stuff like that. And you listen to them and you're like, yeah, dude, you need to get out of what you're doing. It's, it's not, it's got you in the wrong mindset. And, but yeah, for me, it's just helping people. And like, as an example, so I run a monthly networking happy hour with another guy that, we get, 50, 60, 70 people show up every month. And, I had 2 great conversations with people that night where those 2 things stood out the most for me. The one was, I got an email that I send out that reminds everybody about the event every month. And this guy probably has been on my email reminder list for like 16, 18 months. And he finally showed up for the event. And he spent 5 minutes thanking me for not stopping, sending him the emails. He's like, thank you for keeping me on your reminder list. He goes, every month I wanted to come out. Something just came up. I couldn't do it. He's like, I came out. He goes, I had 2 really good conversations that are going to lead to bigger conversations here tonight. Thank you so much for continuing to send me the email. So that's one where I'm just like, yeah, not a problem. Like, unless you mark me as spam or, something like that, I'm like, I'm just going to keep sending it to you because you originally said, 16, 18 months ago that you wanted to, know about the events when we were having it. And then another was, I just happened to have one of my clients there at the event too. And she just pulled me aside just to thank me. She's like, the stuff that you're doing has been working really well for our business. And I'm so glad I met you. And just after leaving that event, I think I just had a smile on my face the rest of the night. And it's just like those 2 little moments in my whole evening. It wasn't meeting a new potential prospect or something or setting up a one-to-one with that. It was just how I affected these 2 people.
2 things I pulled from there. One is a lesson on follow-ups. I am in sales, and a lot of people don't realize, like, I mean, technically, I guess a follow-up can be annoying, but a lot of times these people just are busy when they look at the email and they leave it as unread and they forget to go back. And a follow-up is just trying to hit the person at the right time. If they told you to F off, okay, F off, but follow-ups, usually they want the follow-up also. If they are interested in any way still, they want that follow-up because they want you to just hit them at the right time. So that's one thing I pulled. The other thing is I love helping early stage startups. I've had twice in the past few months that like friends have reached out and they say, hey, I have this idea. They were further than an idea. Can you help me just with this like early stage startup process? And I think the people that do that and don't ask for a consulting fee or something like that, or have a specific endpoint, it's just because they love what they do. And that's, I will speak for myself. I love diving into that stage. I love when they're just like guessing what they're supposed to be doing, and at least I have some feedback or some experience that I can kind of put in there. And I always also say, like, I'm just one data point. A lot of people they bring in one person, they think they're the end all be all, and I think that's a dangerous thing. My first advisor ever, I respected her so much because the first thing she ever told me was, listen, I know you put a lot of weight into what I say, but I'm just one data point. And I thought that was really valuable. So I don't know we can move on, but I just kind of wanted to pull those two things out if you have anything to add.
Actually, there's just one thing I'm going to add to the back end of that, is something that I tell, like I preach nowadays out there, is anybody working with a marketing agency, when you're talking to that marketing agency, I tell everybody, just ask them this simple question: what else outside of what you offer should I be doing to help grow my business? Because a good agency will point you in other directions too, because we don't all do everything. So, we're really good at certain things, and then we do other things, and then there's stuff we don't do. And I always have other agencies on my list where I'm like, I think this person would be a really good fit for you. You should call them, because this is something that could probably help grow your business outside of the stuff I'm doing right now. And there's too many agencies out there, and they make us look bad as they're just out to sell the services they have and focus on that and nothing else. And I'm like, that's not a strategy. That's just selling you a service. So you want to find someone that can help build a strategy.
I'm glad you mentioned that. It's a lot of what we do actually with this podcast is we obviously only interview like founders and CEOs of marketing agencies. And what we try to do is just kind of build this like community where if one agency that we interview needs help, that's not a service that they provide, we do now have this Rolodex of marketing agencies that we can kind of point them towards, and they can make their own decision if it's the right fit. But we identified that pretty early here that, not every marketing agency can fill every service. I would say it's almost impossible, even if you say you're full service. Is there a good trusted partner that we can kind of point you to? So I love that. Yep. Now to start getting into some of the business stuff, how did you get here? How did you get into advertising? How did you get into the specific field that you're in? Like, how did that all come to be?
Long journey. I'll try to keep it as short as possible. Started off as, communications and marketing major in college. Tried to get into more on the communications, radio, television, film field. Spent a few years chasing that dream. And in the meantime, when I wasn't making enough money, I was doing other side jobs, and ended up in food service for a while. And then it was an opportunity in finance came up where it was like, all right, this whole thing hasn't been working too well for me. Let me dive into this and see how this is going to work for me. Jumped into finance, worked my way up in there. And then it was a little bit soul sucking. I realized that it wasn't really what I wanted to do with my life. Like, it was very interesting, but yet all in all, it just wasn't there. Expressing that frustration to some friends one day, and then someone goes, I know an opportunity that's coming up. And it was a startup event ticketing company that I was like, all right, this is interesting. This is completely out of left field. And they hired me as the director of inside sales for them. And through that company, I was employee number 4, and I ended up in, I think, 3 or 4 different jobs over the course of 11 years, helped build them up to the second largest event ticketing company in the country that no one ever heard of, because we private labeled in every market. And then because we did it so well, someone came in with that big bag of money that they couldn't refuse. And next thing I know, I'm out the door because I'm high paid middle management that is just seen as expendable. We were in a nice spot. So I'm like, yeah, I'm going to take a year off. I'm going to hang out with the kids, get them on and off the bus, take them to their sports. Because at this point, we were paying someone to do all that stuff for us. So I wanted to take more of a role in my kids' lives. And I did that. That year turned in, I think, about 4 years. And then there was just only so much I could do around the house. I painted every room, remodeled 2 bathrooms. Just, I ran out of projects. I was going a little stir crazy. I'm like, all right, I need to find something. I can't go back into corporate America. I was just burned too many times there. So it was like, all right, what can I do for myself? What is my background? Started looking into franchise opportunities, just different things. Then I came across this dealership model for the indoor digital billboards, which was the original business I jumped into. From there, we just started rolling out some digital marketing services. And over the course of, the last 8 years, we've kind of grown it into a nice suite of services that we offer that, we help people. And honestly, that's one of the biggest things about it is, we're helping people at the end of the day.
You mentioned dealership model. Can you explain that?
Yeah, so the dealership model works, franchise, you're under a brand. Whereas in a dealership model, the brand's mine. So your local network, that is my brand to do, say, as I want. There's a lot more freedoms to a dealership. I essentially just bought a territory and have resources on the back end to utilize as I see fit. Whereas a franchise model, there's, you're using their brand, you're using just everything's theirs. Everything is owned by that franchise. Whereas the dealership, everything's owned by me, and it's up to me to make sure that my business is successful, without what I like to say is outside interference. So it's the control essentially is in my shoes instead of someone else's, which is why I like that model so much.
And I want to dive into and spend a lot of time kind of on this topic because I think that's where we're going to focus. But just to take a half a step back, can you tell us a little bit more about your business and what you guys specialize in?
Right. Okay. So again, the original service was indoor digital billboards. So what they are is we partner with local businesses throughout the region where we install TV screens inside these businesses. So you're talking restaurants, gyms, shops, places where people are going about their daily lives. And again, we install TV screens. We're running video advertisements on a continuous loop. So it's honestly, it's a great branding, hyper local branding opportunity for businesses in the area. Like especially works really good for trades businesses. So, we do well with the HVAC, the electricians, the plumbers, stuff like that. And then on top of that, in the digital marketing realm, on Google, we're doing pay-per-click ads. We're doing Google Business Profile Management, which I think is something that's too often ignored by people with their marketing strategy. They don't understand the importance of the Google Business Profile and how Google views that. And for a platform that gets 89% of all internet search, I'm constantly educating people on you really need to pay attention to this platform and how you're showing up here. From there, social media, we do the management, we do the management of the ads, we build websites, we can help people with YouTube advertising, pre-roll advertising, display and geofencing advertising. We do some graphic design work. So, we got a lot of tools out there that, like I said, we can help people with, which is great. And, to have that ability to say, okay, here are 10 services. I think, sir, these 3 here are where we should put your focus because I think these things will be the most helpful for you and your business.
When you're talking to a prospect, what do they usually say, I guess, or like what are their pain points or however you want to take that, that you think makes digital or indoor digital billboards the right fit?
It comes down to, so the indoor digital billboards, it's simply people don't know they exist. So it's, the one question I ask people is like, we live, my core area, I'm in Westchester is like kind of the central to my area where the screens are at and they spread out from there. But I'm like, okay, Westchester, PA is a, nice town. Good population. I'm like, if you stand on the corner of, Gay and High Street, which is the main arteries right there that run through town. I'm like, if you stop people and ask them, have they heard of your brand? How many people are going to say yes? And most people go, I don't know if anybody knows what my brand is. And it's like, well, then you need to get it out there. You need to push your brand out there. One of the things we preach is, the four foundational pillars is your website, your social media, your Google business profile, and brand awareness. So if you're not pushing any brand awareness out there, how are people going to interact with everything else you're doing? Because they don't know the brand. They don't understand the brand. So if you're not putting that piece out there, it's making everything else that much harder.
That's a great way to put it. All of these services that you're able to offer, can you talk about how you're able to do that while still keeping the client kind of top of mind? I found that very interesting, and I think a huge value add to how the setup of your company is inside of that dealership model, and how you're essentially providing this, you're on the client side of the fence with all of these resources. So I just want to have you explain that more if you can.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I'm completely honest with, my clients on how my business operates. So what it's considered white label environment. So I have a company, a team out in Colorado. They do the heavy lifting. Essentially, they offer the services. I'm out here in Pennsylvania, and I'm selling these services and act as an account manager / outside sales rep for them. The value in doing it this way is, number one, is my overhead is very low. So the cost savings that I can pass on to my clients is actually pretty significant. Whereas quite often my pricing is right on par or below what, and most often below, especially for the local guys that have a staff of like 4 or 6 people that are doing all the work on their end. So they're paying for salaries, they're paying for benefits, they're paying for real estate, they're paying for all these things that I don't have that overhead, and I'm able to pass that on to my clientele. The other thing is too, is because I'm working with a larger company, they have experts in each service that we're offering. So, so when I call my team members about social media, I'm talking to just a few specific people that's all they do. They handle social media. So they are on top of it. They know what's going on with it. Same thing with Google. And the great thing about that is because there's so many the number of release notes that get distributed on, about what the changes are making, especially Google. I think last year, Google made 600 changes to the search algorithm last year. So that's almost like twice a day that they're making changes to the algorithm. Now, granted, these aren't major ones mostly, and they have the few major releases, but when you're supporting a team of 4 or 6 people that are trying to, that are, experts on 2, 3, 4, 5 different services that you're offering, they don't have time to really dive into all these release notes to see what's going on, see what the changes are, to make sure that everything we're doing, say with the Google Business Profile Management, is still viable and it should be the same things we should be doing, as opposed to, all right, they made these changes, so now we have to pivot a little bit and we're going to do this now instead of this over here. And having that team, having those dedicated people for those dedicated, for each individual service, I think gives us a leg up because of just the knowledge we bring for those services, just because of, the structure that we have set behind us.
It's a really interesting model. My perspective on it and why I think it works really well. You're able to offer more of a full digital marketing agency approach with billboards as well, indoor billboards and that network that's built out there, while still maintaining the relationship that clients get with being a smaller localized agency. Yeah. And that is rare. It seems almost impossible outside of this type of model. Because usually we see there'll be a small team of under 10 people that is a full service digital marketing agency. And that specialization in all of the areas that you listed becomes impossible. You can't have, unless there could be a senior, right? Like just a senior in every aspect of those areas. And there's one, and hopefully they don't get bogged down in one area and they're able to give you the support that you need. But if you have a much larger team, like 50 plus, that you can actually have the level of specialization required in each of those areas and have the dedicated teams that are able to support all of their clients and dive into issues and be available for support in a larger agency, you then lose the ability to call them up and say, hey, I have this problem. I need attention right now. So I think given that you're able to provide multiple services and the localization, I mean, to me, and I would love your thoughts on this transparently, is there any other way to do it other than this model?
Again, I could rent office space. I can hire a bunch of people. I can, and it works. Like I know a few agencies in this area that, that's what they're doing. They charge a whole lot more than I do. For me and what I'm doing, there's no way I would be able to offer what I offer right now, as I'm set up. So it's, it adds such value, to my business to be able to partner, with this other company the way I do, that it, benefits me, it benefits my clients, and all around, it works for everybody.
Yeah, it's great. Tying in something that you mentioned earlier regarding asking your agency what else you could be doing to grow your business. How do you go about partnerships that are outside of the scope of specialization that your team in Colorado has?
So it varies depending on what my clients' wants and needs are. So I have some clients where I'm basically fronting for them for the service. So everything's flowing through me because they only want one monthly bill for the services. So, I'm paying their bill. They're paying me for what I'm paying. I have others where I've just introduced them to the other agencies, where it's like, hey, they need more than what I can offer them. I think what you're doing over here, they need to be doing, and they'll just, they'll take on my clients for those services that they need. And it's about just having those conversations with those other agencies about, boundaries. And it's like, okay. And we have the conversation. It's always, okay, so what are you doing for them? What are you sending them my way for? How do you feel about this, that, and the other thing? And again, it's building those relationships with the other agencies. And I laugh when I do a ton of networking, and, you're in a room and you see that a person that's, another marketing person, and they refuse to talk to you, because you're the enemy, and you're just like, no, we're not the enemies. We should be working together. I can help your clients. You can probably help my clients. But you see these people, they just get so defensive about, someone else in their industry walking in the room. And it blows my mind that they operate this way and somehow succeed to some levels, without, sharing experiences, without, sharing knowledge so that you have other places to go to help your current clientele. Because the clients I've had around the longest are ones that I've sent other places for other things because they trust me. Because they know I'm doing what's best for them, not necessarily what's best for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What tend to be those services that you tend to refer out to?
So it varies. So I don't do email marketing. We did it a long time ago. It was just too much of a pain. Everyone you go, is this a legitimate list? Yeah. You didn't buy this list from somewhere. No. And then next thing you know, you're running a campaign and you're getting a, 30-40% bounce rate. You're getting marked as spam, and it's just too much of a hassle there. So we don't do that anymore. Any sort of mail campaigns, I've got another company that I constantly push people towards. They utilize a platform called Mailbox Power, which is greeting cards and gifts and stuff like that. You can set up drip campaigns, and like it's absolutely fabulous service that I recommend to probably like half of my clients. It's like, all right, this is something else you should be doing outside of this. And then there's the points where it's what the client wants. So recently I had a client, it was a prospect, didn't turn out to be my client, turned out to be another agency's client, because I pushed them that way. Was they needed a website. But they wanted someone that they could sit next to at a desk and go over, it's like, oh, I want this here, I want that there. They didn't want to do something over Zoom. And it's like, and that's not my business model. But because of my relationships with other agencies and everything like that, I introduced them to an agency which they do websites, they do Google ads. Like that's their specialty. That's what they do. I know they do it really well, and they're local. So I did that introduction, and they became his client. And I can do, like I said, we do websites, but it wasn't right for that prospect because I probably could have sold it, and I probably could have, not going well because she didn't want to be on Zoom with somebody. And I could have told her it was going to be all right and we'd make it work and blah, 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 blah. But because what she really wanted was someone that she could sit beside to work through the website, I'm like, all right, I'm not the right fit for you, but I know someone that is. And I made that introduction, and, and it all worked out for them.
That's great.
And maybe you kind of answered this earlier, but to switch Alex's question around, he asked, what type do you typically refer out to? What type of agencies typically refer into you or for your services? Is there, yeah.
I've had a few agencies. I have one that was sending me quite a few Google Business Profile management clients, just because it was something, they managed SEO, but they didn't manage profiles. So they were sending me their clients for that service if they were interested in it. And the other one is the indoor digital billboards. So I have a few agencies that are going, okay, here's the stuff you have in place. Maybe you should talk to Jim over here. He's got a really cool, service that will help get your brand out there in the local market. So those are kind of the two big things that I've been referred to most out, from other agencies.
Jim, and we talked about this before, but I personally was really interested in the way that the dealership model is set up, and something that I'm looking to potentially replicate as we grow our sales channels. Looking at that as one way to do it. If you have time, do you have insights into how the company in Colorado was able to grow this network? Like, how do you know how it started and how they moved into this dealership model?
That's a question.
So the original business with them was the indoor digital billboards, and I think for them, just because the franchise model just offer, as good as it is, it's also convoluted. Like it is. There's a lot of regulation over it and everything like that, where the dealership model for them, it was like, okay, we can just sell territories and then have them create their own company, their own brand. And then they're just kind of the behind the scenes guiding things along. And then from there, they build on it they saw companies like Vendasta and Propel and a few of these other big, huge marketing agencies start this white label services. So they're like, well, we already have 150 dealers around the country that are just, doing indoor digital billboards through us. And a lot of them have, our marketing agents, they're not just doing indoor digital billboards. A lot of them are doing other things too. Like it's just one piece of their total business. So they started talking to them and going, all right, so how much, what does this cost? What does that cost? How much are you paying to do this? How much are you paying to do that? How would you feel if we could offer these services at these wholesale prices to you? And, these other agents, they're like, that sounds wonderful. And then from there, it was like, then they started just building out the digital marketing division. And for me, again, I was just starting from scratch, something small that I could still do. And so I was just doing the indoor digital billboards. When they brought on the digital stuff, for me, that was just like, oh my God, like I have so much more I can offer people. Like I'm not a one-trick pony anymore. It was like, and I was actually looking into some of this stuff, looking into some of these other offerings through these other companies.
Lower risk.
At that time, because so it just the right timing for me.
I think you mentioned that also happened alongside of COVID, where people weren't in locations.
Yeah, so it literally happened like along with COVID, because 2020, I was going out to Colorado for this big event that they wouldn't tell us anything about, which was going to be like the big announcement for, the whole digital marketing thing. COVID happened. It was going to launch in like the third or fourth quarter of 2020. COVID had hit, and they were like, they saw the writing on the wall, because every one of the dealers, like every one of our host locations was closed. Like I literally just almost went out of business, because I had no host locations open. I had no revenue coming in. I can't charge people for, advertising at some place that's closed. So I think it was mid-April, like they were on top of things, and they're like, all right, here's what we're doing. We're launching here's what we were going to tell you in June. Here's what we're doing. We're launching it now. So, I mean, they just went into like overdrive mode to get everything set up so that we could start offering the services. I spent about 2 months learning everything before I was comfortably like offering it, because I'm like, okay, this is great, but I know nothing. It's like I don't know enough about this stuff that I'm comfortable selling it. So then once I learned, I dug in, I learned everything I needed to know. Then I'm like, this is absolutely fantastic. Let's do this. And then I just started talking about Google and, social media with people, and it just snowballed from there. And I mean, it's been great for me. It's a great business model. And like the cool thing about it too is with a lot of these companies, like outside of the one I work with, just for the simple fact that they kind of sell an all-encompassing package that includes the indoor digital billboards and stuff like that. There's these other companies out there that it's just, you can pick and choose whatever you want to use from them. So for an agency that might offer 6 or 7 services, you can add 5 more services to, your suite of services utilizing one of these companies that are offering a white label model that will actually, depending on what level you take, they'll answer the phone, your local network, with your brand. So, I mean, I love the business model. I think it opens up opportunity for more people. One of the biggest things I've noticed across some of the local agencies that I taught, the guys that have, 4, 6, 8, 10 people, is retaining those people. So they're constantly just usually hiring out of Westchester University. They're hiring like every year, the graduates they're hiring. It seems like 2 or 3, and 2 or 3 are out the door every year on them. I'm like, I don't even know how you deal with that. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah.
So it avoids that. You don't have to worry about that anymore. It's all right. I have people that know social media, handle the social media, and they're locked in, and they might rotate there a bit, but that's out of my, that's out of my vision. So I don't have to worry about that.
And even the training there is probably happening in cohorts.
Right. They've got someone back, they've got someone coming up behind constantly that they're doing all that work where it's, I don't have to worry about it.
Yeah. It's a very cool model. What do they do in terms of, you had mentioned that you spent some time learning all this new stuff. What did they do in terms of training for you as a dealer?
Well, it's gotten a lot better than what it was. Like when they first started, it was like, here's just a ton of shit for you to read, which I did. Now they have every probably like 3 weeks a month. We have a call at 5 o'clock on Thursdays where they're going over something. One of the services or two of the services. It's like, okay, here's how are you marketing this product? All right. So here's what it is. Here's, kind of who you should be targeting. Here's how we can help these types of businesses. Here's why we can help these types of businesses with this service, and stuff like that. So there's always,
Okay.
there's a knowledge base. There's,
So it's a continuing
Zoom
marketing and
trainings that they do.
sales training and kind of rehoning target market identification, marketing to, selling, addressing concerns. And then, wow, okay, that's great. Is in terms of sales material, are they providing sales material to you with your branding on it?
Yeah.
Or how does that work? Okay.
If I ask for it, yeah. So, we got a whole graphics design department that does the ads for the screens. They do, like I said, any sales materials for me. So they design trifolds, flyers, whatever I ask for. They'll design them. Like, hey, can I get?
Incredible.
I've got a meeting. I'm presenting at BNI next week. Can you give me, a flyer that gives a summary of every service that we provide at this point? One sheeter. Can you send me the latest one sheeter? So a lot of the stuff they just have, and they just need to swap out logos or in color. So they do a good job at it, which is nice.
Mm-hmm. And then on your side, if there's a problem that comes up, like for example, like if you need sales material do you reach out to one person there, or do you have contacts for all the different departments that you may need to talk to for various things?
So essentially they have an email box for each individual. So there's the DMS email, there's the creative email, there's, so there's, depending on what my needs are, that's where I'll send it, and it'll get, responded to by who's available. That's monitoring that email box at that time. So it's because if I just send it to one person, they're off that day, then they might not get back, or they're off for a few days. So they have email accounts that are always monitored, which is really nice. And then I have a rep that is always checking in with me. So I got a dedicated person that's, always going, probably calls me every other day.
That's incredible.
All right, anything I can help you with? Do you have any meetings coming up? Is there anything I can get? Do you need us to write your proposal for something? So I had one big prospect that, I didn't get it, but it was like, I think it was, what was it, 250,000 a year. Like this guy was great. Like the business, he goes, I'm projecting to have 5 million in sales. So I spend 5%. So, he just knows how to do this marketing. He's like, I'm going to spend 5%. So that's $250,000. Give me a proposal on how that's going to work throughout the 12 months. And it was like, all right, we got $250,000 to spend. And they put together a monster proposal for me that just broke out everything month to month, what we were going to spend the money on, which services. And, it would be something that would have just stressed the shit out of me. Like,
I'm sure. Yeah.
Doing the work. Right. Yeah, exactly. Well, ChatGPT helps a little bit with that, but no, that's incredible. I think we talked about this last time. I wish when I was in the restaurant software space, I would rather, instead of selling my service, I wish I could go to restaurants and be like, hey, I have 8 services. Let's just hear what your needs are, and then we can fill in the holes if it makes sense. And I never tested it, but I always thought that model. You that is the model that they're running and you're running. So it's pretty incredible.
That's that's kind of like aspirations for what we do with our model. Granted, our model is very niche. I feel like it has to be. We start off with indoor billboards. I mean, we're doing just conversion rate optimization, really. But yeah, I want to find a way to be able to scale it, because it still takes someone talking with local businesses to understand why they need it. And I'd rather not have manage a whole sales team, but give the opportunity for someone to be kind of build their own business, but then have us for the professional support. And that's kind of selfish, because that's just what I'm good at. I'm good at operations. So if I focus there, then, sales can be done elsewhere. But given the amount of support that they provide on the sales side, it looks like, we'll have to build out some robust support.
Yeah, but again,
sales support.
That work did get cut down a little bit with ChatGPT. Like, obviously we want a human inputting and everything, but a lot of like a proposal you still want the person in there. You still want the person writing it, but like ChatGPT can cut out half that work. And that is just the side of it.
Jim, from your experience for us, knowing what we saw, basically, like on the website side, specifically looking at optimizing for conversions, from your experience, what advice would you have for us?
Honestly, I don't know, guys. Like, again, our focus is more on the Google side than on the website side. Like, we build websites and we do a good job at it, but it's outside of that, we're not doing the ongoing SEO or anything like that. So we're not pushing any of that. That I leave that to other people. Like I said, that's one I'll pass off that business to someone else. So I'm not the real expert to give really too much advice on that topic.
Okay. I was thinking more on like maybe the sales side for selling like recurring subscriptions or partnerships or anything like that.
Oh, for that, I mean, I tell people it's about what's your time worth. Like, if you're worrying about writing that blog post, if you're worried about like doing all these things with your website, I always go down to what's your time worth. I mean, I go out, if I'm doing a consulting deal, I'm charging, depending on the client, like $150, $200 an hour for what I think, how much time I'm going to spend doing it. And that's what I bill them at. So I look at it and go, okay, my time's worth $200 an hour. Like, if I'm spending, 10 hours or more a month trying to figure out how to researching and writing blog posts and stuff like that, that's $2,000. Now, if you guys are going to sell a SEO package for $1,000, they just saved $1,000. So I always try to push it to what's your time worth, because you're wasting your time doing this stuff instead of focusing it on your business. You're focusing it on your SEO. They're better off leaving it to an expert to do it the best way, as opposed to them doing it the best way they know how. I just fired a client because they just would not stop meddling with how we were managing their Google business profile. Like, they just wouldn't. I don't want that. I don't want this. I do this. Blah 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 blah. And I'm like, we're doing this. Everything here we're doing for a reason. Like, you're really good at your job. We're really good at our job. And he just wouldn't stop. And it was just like, look, this isn't going to work. It's unfortunately, this is how we operate. We had two conversations about this already. It's not working. We're going to finish out the month and then we're going to part ways because this just isn't working for us. So, I mean, you're always going to have those people where they're just not going to let go. But you get the right ones, man. And they, like, once they do let go and they realize how valuable that is to them, because they're getting time back and everything else. I mean, those are the hot buttons that I push with people. It's like, I'm going to give you time back because you're not going to deal with this shit anymore.
As we come up to the end of the episode, I just want to give you an opportunity to mention how people can find you and anything else you'd like to end with.
Sure. Yeah, you can find me at yourlocalnetwork.net. I'll tell everybody you're in business, you're trying to grow your business, you got to build your network. I'm a big believer in that. I belong to multiple chambers. I belong to BNI. I belong to a few other networking groups. I'm constantly out there. I'm be heading to my third networking event tonight for the day. So I had a morning one, I had my BNI lunch, and now I'm going to be heading to a multi-chamber happy hour. So I just tell people, get out there, show up. That's the biggest thing. Just show up.
Oh, that was good. I asked that, just like as a wrap up question, and I feel like people just give their website and they get out and they never have like this closing lesson. So I appreciate that. that was really nice. And thank you so much for coming on the show. And for those of you who've learned something new from this episode, please consider giving us a like or a follow so we can continue getting the highest quality of guests. And as always, thank you for listening. Jim, thank you so much. This is great.
Yeah. Thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate it.
Thanks for listening to the Masters in Marketing Agency podcast. I hope you got a ton of value out of this episode. And before we go, I just want to thank our sponsors, DevNoodle. DevNoodle provides marketing agencies with the ability to offer their clients unlimited website design, build, and management services with fixed monthly plans. If website design, development, and maintenance is holding your agency back from growing, please reach out to us at devnoodle.com, where we make websites easy for you and easy for your clients. devnoodle.com.